portrait photographer.
But let's back up and tell people, how did you first get into photography?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because like I think if you ask Frankie that, she says, "Oh, my mom got me into photography." But I kind of think the same way too, even though my mom was not like a professional photographer by any means, but she definitely always had a camera in her hand. And there's just tons of pictures of me and my cousins and, family thing, what we call snapshots now, right? So I watched her my whole life, and I was always fascinated. All the snapshots were always in a little shoebox, and we'd get them out and look at them. So that was a lot of fun. So that really sparked my first interest in photography. Fast forward to going, starting high school, deciding what clubs to join. There was a photography club. So I joined, and it was really cool because my school actually had a dark room. Back in the dark ages. I mean, I'm talking, we're in the 70s now, right? So that was fascinating to me to develop film and to watch images come up in that tray that like you took the picture and you develop the film and all of that, and watching this image come to life. I just thought that was cool. So I remember my dad bought me a little like darkroom kit. And I remember going in my closet at home, trying to do it all. It was kind of a disaster. But that was the first, but then I became the school photographer for the paper, for the yearbook. I was always documenting everything. So that's kind of how it started.
Wow. Yeah. So I know we talked about how you first got into photography and you went back to high school. So how was it, going forward in the future after becoming a mom to your daughter, Frankie, and entering a new stage or chapter in your life? How did that affect you, that transition?
At the time, it's not something you stop to think about, but now looking back, my kids, Frankie's actually the youngest. Okay. She's the baby. So yeah, my baby just turned 30. It goes fast, watch out. But so my kids were all like 4 years apart. So it was an expanse of like all these different stages of their life. And I think I was just so immersed in all of that. I didn't always stop and think about like, you didn't have time to analyze everything. I was just trying to survive.
As we all are.
Everybody's at a different age, and so I don't, it was just a natural progression of just trying to do the best I could every day, and not you just don't always feel like you're doing it right.
I hear you on that one. As a newer mom. I'm always like going to my mom for questions or advice, or like, am I really doing okay? Because I question it every day. And just recently, I've been trying to potty train my daughter, and that's been interesting.
Oh wow, yeah, that's always fun.
It's a fun stage. So if she has a couple accidents, it's frustrating, but I'm trying to be patient. And I feel like having children extends your patience. It teaches you to become a better person than who you were in the past. It totally alters who you are, and for the better. So I feel like having my kids, I've totally changed as a person, and it's a whole new ballgame.
It's just so important not to like compare yourself to anybody else, or I can remember those days too. Like, oh, that kid down the street's potty trained, and you're 2 years old. What's going on here? And you just it's going to be a lot of ups and downs, and it's all going to be okay. They won't they won't graduate from college not potty trained.
So how would you say becoming a mom and fulfilling that new role in your life was the driving point for putting your photography business on pause, or did it just kind of happen gradually as you were immersed in your children's lives?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of happened a little bit of both simultaneously, really, because there's a big side of it was like, I really didn't know how to start a business, or I didn't even know if that's really what I wanted. I didn't know anything. I just was trying, like I said before, trying to survive, trying to do the best I could. I was intentionally wanting to be, that traditional stay-at-home mom. I knew I wanted to be hands-on with my kids, but I guess I didn't know enough of how to make it all happen. And maybe back then too, it was a little more difficult, I think. I mean, now, I mean, let's face it, you know, the whole world has learned how to work from home the past 2 years, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong, but there seems like there's more opportunity now to do more things, you know, like if you're any type of creative, like you can have an Etsy shop now. You can, there's a more of a way to reach people. Back then, it was a little bit of like, I don't really know what to do, how to do this. And a little bit of like, do I really want to do that? I wasn't quite sure.
I mean, that's really understandable. It's a totally different time period today where, as you said, you know, there's more up and coming entrepreneurs and creatives, and like the stay at home lifestyle and working from home is a whole new life now that literally was birthed through the, you know, the pandemic, as you mentioned. So it's becoming much more and more common. But I'm pretty sure back then it probably wasn't, and you know, it was probably more common to be a stay-at-home mom. But I want to actually applaud you for that, because there's many parents today that, you know, aren't able to do that, or maybe they are able to do it, but they just don't want to, and they feel like they have to work and somehow, you know, sometimes spend time with their kids, but they're not as present with their kids as a mom. And I feel like that a lot of that is lacking today, unless they're able to figure out how to juggle both. But it's like so difficult these days.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what was the driving point for you wanting to rekindle your love or your passion for photography again, you know, after you were, you know, getting in the groove of things? Was it your daughter Frankie's newfound interest for the craft, or was it you just missing photography?
Well, I think I never lost the passion for it. I always found a way to dabble in it. And you know, Frankie is a big part of it, because honestly, you know, like sometimes they say the last child has the least amount of pictures, the least amount of whatever. But like, I felt like I was trying to get even better and better in what I was doing. She was, I was like, oh, great. This kid, you know, she'll sit for me and she'll pose for me, and, you know, we can practice. And she probably has more pictures than any of them. Which is kind of crazy. So I never lost the passion, and I always dabble with friends and family. But yeah, as she got older and when she went to high school, you know, she started to do the kind of the same things I was doing. She's, you know, was on the yearbook staff and was learning photography. So that was kind of cool. But actually, if I even back up a little bit, like I said, they're all 4 years apart. So her older sister was actually in high school, you know, 4 years before her. And they both did drama in high school. And my older daughter came home and said, Mom, you know, we need somebody to take the, you know, the drama pictures, the cast pictures and the play pictures. And she said, right now, somebody's going to stand on a chair and snap a picture. It's not going to be any good. And will you come in and you know, and help us? And I said, okay. So I went, and that's sort of, believe it or not, I kind of started a business then called Staging Moments Photography. That was my first real attempt at trying to do this. And I thought it was so clever, staging moments, like because of the stage, and then also doing like children, you know, at different stages in their life. So I thought that I just thought I was really clever. But so that and I did start to sell a little bit then, because, you know, started selling within that community. So that's kind of where it started, and that continued with when Frankie went there as well, because she also did all the plays. So really that's kind of where it started to think like, oh, well, yeah, I could do this as a business. So that's kind of where I started.
So do you think that you would have ever gotten back into photography or learned film if it weren't for your daughter Frankie? I have to ask that.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Sure. I you know, it was definitely more of her with the film. You know, I was definitely the mom with the camcorder, because we all did that in the 80s and 90s, you know. But, you know, not making like films. I was just like documenting whatever they were doing, which is fun. So definitely it was her that started the interest in film, which was, you know, kind of natural, because like the cameras that we use do both, right? So she, you know, she just started, I think she started doing like stop motion and all that stuff. So it did really have a photography base, but then
Yeah.
she started making little documentaries and you know, I could tell you lots of stories. I mean, one of her projects in college was she had to like literally write a narrative and make a film. And like,
Oh man.
I don't know why, but we turned my whole house into a funeral scene. And we
Oh
did this,
no.
she wrote this whole funeral scene and that, so I was still helping her with that too.
Wow.
So that was fun. But yeah, she definitely had the spark for film.
So how was it initially for you, specifically learning film? Was it hard?
Yeah, it's really funny because I guess, you know, this is how naive I was. I thought, okay, you know, I'll sort of be the assistant and maybe I'll be like more in the background doing more of the business stuff and
Yeah.
Frankie will be on the front lines. But like all of a sudden I'm on all these shoots with her and like, yeah, I don't think there's ever been one where we didn't do it together.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of learned by doing and, you know, doing some online education as well. And,
Nice.
you know, and I guess because I had we sort of split it up, right? Like, since I had the background with studio work, I would go in, I would set up the lights, I would, you know, do the composition and all that stuff. And she would kind of be more the camera person and the audio person. But since then, like we do it all now, you know, simultaneously. So,
Yeah.
which is cool. But at first I was a little intimidated. I'm like, I don't know. I never put my camera on those settings before. I do still pictures,
Oh,
but it
man.
translates well because if you can make somebody look great in a photograph, you can make them look really great in an interview too. So yeah.
I know you mentioned this in the last interview of the podcast, but for our listeners who may have not heard or listened to that one, if you could explain how was Storia Studio born, the company that you and Frankie now own together?
Storia was born at the kitchen table. We usually say that because it's kind of true. We would sit around because, you know, at the time she was actually still living at home before she was married. And she, you know, we would just have a lot of conversations about it. And we're Italian, so we're always eating. So we're always around the table. And, you know, it just kind of naturally happened because, like I said before, I was helping her. She was helping me.
Yeah.
You know, we were doing all this stuff and she was making a decision. At the time, she was campus minister at an art college and she was doing film and that. So she was kind of making a transition into doing one or the other. Right. And decided to go towards the filming, which was great. And I was just waiting for her to like want to do it, you know, combined our love for stuff together. Yeah. And I was like, what do we have to lose? We can try this, you know, like I said before, nothing is forever. Like you can do whatever you want in life and try it.
That's so true.
Yeah. So we decided to do it. And it was, you know, I had to let go of, you know, my staging moments and she let go of Frankie Films and trying to decide a name for Storia. Actually, her now husband, he's like, what about Storia? Isn't that like Italian for story? Right. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. So we fell in love with the name and, you know, the rest is history. And we just, you know, we had a few clients from her little bit of filming days and we just started building on it. That's how it was born.
Rena was so kind to submit a video for the podcast about her and her daughter's video production company called Storia Studio. So I thought to incorporate that in today's video, and I hope you guys enjoy.
We're a mother-daughter team, and that's really unique, but really natural for us. We're very in sync. We're very connected. We love the fact that we're bringing two generations together, two different perspectives, two different ways of looking at things. So I grew up in an Italian home. My mom always took pictures as well. We always had all these snapshots of me, my cousins, all dressed up, all playing in the backyard, just everything about our lives. So I knew that that was an important thing to do.
So as a kid, I mimicked everything my mom did. I also was just obsessed with documenting moments. I used to pore over our family albums like no other. Rena documented our childhood so well, my siblings and I. We had these incredible images of us growing up and videos, and I loved reliving moments. I loved that an image just took me back in time, even at a young age, and I think that's why even now I'm so passionate about capturing these moments for other people.
In the studio, we're working with individuals, maybe small groups, families, to try to bring out what their story is and to make them feel confident. On location, we're trying to help a business tell where they've come from and what makes them special and what they have to offer. Or perhaps it's a nonprofit to highlight a cause that they're passionate about. We want to help tell that story.
Some days, we just can't believe it. We just look at each other and we say, whose life is this? And we realize that these incredible stories are out there and want to be told. And we just have the privilege of capturing them.
Storia is Italian for story. So when I think of the word Storia, what comes to my mind is my heritage. And when I think about my heritage, so many images flood my mind. And they're on my walls, they're in my albums, they're on videotapes from years ago. We just love to reflect on where we've come from and where we're going.
We are a mother-daughter team. We are collaborators, creators, filmmakers, photographers. We are Storia.
So how was it starting a business later in life? How would you explain that?
You know, I guess I didn't give it a whole lot of thought that, oh my gosh, this is like later in life. I just thought, well, I've always wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Now seems like a good time. If not now, when, you know, like, yeah, you know, a lot of my friends are retiring and I feel like I'm just getting started, which was fine. You know, I was 58 at the time.
Wow.
And now, you know, I'm going to be 62 this year. So yeah, sometimes I wonder, I don't know, what is the exit plan for me? I don't know. But I think it worked well in our situation because I sort of had the maturity and the more confidence, I guess. And Frankie had the energy and the, you know, I don't know, like just that spark. So I think together, you know, we brought these two generations together that normally maybe wouldn't work, but it did. And since we're family, we have each other's backs. And I'm just really grateful that that I literally had the chance to really do it in a more official way than I ever had before.
Yeah. I think there's a saying that goes, comparison is the thief of joy. Like, we should never compare our journeys with other people's. And whether it's considered later in life to you, it doesn't matter as long as you started. Some people don't never start, and you know, will never know because they never took that leap of faith or that jump to start that business or fulfill that idea they had. So more power to you.
But for me, in a lot of ways, like I don't have the other worries that maybe I would have trying to do it younger. I don't have anybody to pick up from school. I don't have to worry about, you know, dinner. Yeah, maybe, but you know, I can always get carry out. Like I don't have a family around me all the time that has all these needs. So it is, you know, sort of my time. That's how I look at it.
You know, that's something I didn't even think about because some people might say, oh, that's later in life, that's a disadvantage. But really, when you think about it, you have so much more free time now on your hands. So did you have any like fears or doubts, imposter syndrome about starting a business?
For sure. All those things. Yeah. I mean, I feel like starting a business or starting anything really, like you don't just go into it thinking, oh, I got it all figured out. This is going to be great. No, the first initial feeling is usually fear.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why that is. I don't know why we don't think about positive before negative, but most people think about like, oh, what, I must be crazy trying to do this, or I'm not good enough, or that imposter syndrome for sure.
Yeah.
It's like, who do I think I am that I can do this? But I learned a while back that in a way, it's a good thing when those things come up, because you have to address them right away. And usually when you start something new, whatever you're most afraid of is the first thing that's going to hit you. And it did with us. Like people were a little surprised about, pricing kind of went up when we started to do this officially as a business.
Yeah.
And they would kind of challenge you on that, or like all these things that you're afraid of sort of they start to happen. And but it's kind of good that they do, because you have to face it.
Oh yeah.
And get past it.
Definitely. So do you think that you would have ever gotten back into photography or learned film if it weren't for your daughter Frankie? I have to ask that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like I definitely wouldn't be doing film. If anything, I would probably be doing just photography, straight up photography. Okay. And probably, which, we still do. I would say 90% of our business is definitely film. But we still do, portraits. I love studio work. I love, we have a small studio in my home, and I love that. I just think I probably would have pursued that more, but I don't know that I ever would have maybe considered a real business. Like, I feel like we have a real business now. It feels real, but again, like, I feel like I was like, I'm just a mom trying to help my kid, but now it's turned into something really a lot more, something we can both be proud of,
Yeah, I love that. I feel like Storia Studio has turned into something bigger than both of you, and that you guys have really transformed, taken both of your, creativity and your craft and your passions, and just fused it into an amazing company business. And you guys are like really thriving with Storia Studio.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So what advice do you have for moms out there who may feel guilty for trying to pursue their dreams and passions while also being a good mom?
Well, I do have a lot to say about guilt. That word is so packed. And, you have to look at that again and say, what is guilt? It has a very negative connotation. I always try to, and I've learned this over the years, like, guilt is like a punishment that you give yourself. You don't have to do that. You can take that feeling and use it as a guide instead of a punishment. Like, if you're feeling guilty about something, take a step back and look at it. And you have to ask yourself, is it even true? Like, I think moms especially, like, we never feel like we're doing enough, but like, take a step back. Like, is it true? How are the kids doing? Is your household running the way you want? Like, if something is out of place, then adjust it. Don't waste your time feeling guilty about it. But most of the time, we're doing better than we think we're doing. It's not easy. There's no set manual of how to do this. You learn every day. And, I would just say, use it as a guide. Guilt just keeps you stuck. It just does.